What's going on, guys, and welcome in to Afterthoughts. I'm your host, Ryan Lombardi, alongside Austin Townley and James Derrick. Boys, great to have you here. Great to get this show started.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us on. I'm ready to get right into it.
I think the biggest storyline entering tonight is Luka Doncic is taking on the Dallas Mavericks for the first time since being traded. Gonna be a crazy game. Game tips off at 10 p.m. and both teams are entering hot.
Yeah, the Lakers, they've won 12 of their last 15. The Mavs, they've won 5 of their last 7. Both of these teams getting going at the right time of the season after the trade deadline. I'm interested to hear, what are your guys' thoughts going into this game? Obviously, there's a lot of emotion in it for Luka after he was traded. Austin, what do you think?
Well, Anthony Davis is out, so that's a big thing. He's the main leading factor in the big man rotation for the Mavericks. After they made that trade, they gave up Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. That's a massive trade, maybe the biggest one ever, honestly. Luka's going to come in with vengeance. Today, I read something that he is awakened. Something lit a fire in Luka when he was traded.
And not that Luka's played awesome so far with the Lakers, but you got to realize, he thought he was going to be the Maverick for the rest of his life. It was the pride and joy of Dallas. It was Luka Doncic. He brought this team to the NBA Finals last year on his back. He really played just so well. And, he gets traded out of the blue, and it took him time to even just play a game in a Lakers uniform because of how, devastated he was after being traded. So definitely going to come out with some vengeance tonight.
Yeah, he was injured when he got traded, but even then, he was able to come back earlier, and he's kind of took a step back, learn the offense a little bit, get, involved with the team, learn everybody's tendencies and that kind of stuff. And you saw an explosive game against the Nuggets from Luka, where we saw what he's really about. He had about 32 points. I think he had about 10 rebounds, 10 assists or so. He played great, and he was just shy of a triple-double. We're going to see that kind of Luka Doncic tonight for sure.
Now, James, I got to ask, how does Anthony Davis being out impact the Mavericks?
Well, they're not going to have that paint patroller shot blocker that they need. They do have a good amount of big man talent on that roster. They've got Lively, they've got Gafford, but I think Anthony Davis, he has a presence that's really unmatched, and you're going to sorely miss that whenever he doesn't play. That was certainly something that the Lakers missed quite a few times over his tenure with the Lakers, and now we're already seeing it with the Mavericks. But it's going to come down to defense, I feel like, where they're going to miss him the most. He's a big-time shot blocker at the rim.
And definitely going to be a factor in tonight's game. That's something the Lakers lack, is a big man now, because that trade doesn't go through with Charlotte, and now you're missing Anthony Davis from both teams. Yeah. It's a big loss for the Mavericks tonight.
It is a huge loss. And they also don't have Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively. PJ Washington just came back recently, but the Mavericks are out of a big man big time. I'm pretty sure they're using a G League player right now as their big man. And the Lakers, on the other hand, they have Jackson Hayes, who has been in the league for a few years, and he's kind of emerging now into that lob threat, pick and roll type of guy, almost like a Derek Lively, but he's just not there yet, and he's not like the shot blocking big that you really need at this moment in his career.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we touched on the Mavericks needing a big. Obviously, the Lakers now in a position where they're lacking a big man in the middle. However, they are coming off of a massive win against the Nuggets over the weekend. They crushed them by 23 points without a big man. We kind of saw somewhat of a defensive masterclass from the Lakers in that game, getting it done without a big man, playing against the best big man in the game in Nikola Jokic, where they beat him by 20 over the weekend.
And something to know, that's LeBron's first win against the Nuggets in over 2 years. December 16th, 2022 was the last time LeBron beat the Nuggets. The Nuggets had 5 straight wins going into that game. So the fact that the Lakers got it done, and just with the defense, like you mentioned, that was huge for them.
Yeah, like he said, defensive masterclass by the Lakers, especially JJ Redick. I know that was his game plan because him and LeBron talked about it on the podcast a year ago. They triple-teamed Jokic off ball more than I've ever seen any player get double-teamed, triple-teamed, even on the ball. It was incredible. The scheme was basically deny Jokic, make everybody else shoot, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, and there wasn't any particular matchup for Jokic. It was kind of a defense by committee, if you will. There was Hachimura on him for a little bit. There was Vanderbilt. He did a great job on Jokic. Multiple guys willing to step up, front him in the post, make the Nuggets go somewhere else with the ball. And it's, as you mentioned, is funny to see. Redick and LeBron talking about this, almost over a year ago, drinking some wine on a podcast, and you see it come to fruition just over the weekend.
Now I'm going to ask both of you guys. I mean, the Lakers, they get Luka. We saw Luka bring this Mavericks team almost on his back to the NBA Finals last year where they lost to the Celtics. What is the Lakers' ceiling this year? You have LeBron James and Luka Doncic. It might be the best 1-2 punch in the league. What is their ceiling?
I would have to agree with you on the best 1-2 punch in the league. Definitely when you have a guy like LeBron James, who could be considered the greatest basketball player of all time, with Luka Doncic, who's been All-NBA first team 5 times in his first 6 seasons. That's greatness. That really is. And then you have those 2 players on the same team. They could go to the conference finals. They could go to the NBA finals with this team. I think their big man rotation is going to be what stops them.
Yeah, if anything. But you know what? I also want to emphasize a little bit the acquisition of Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, he was talking just the other day with the Lakers, and he was saying he's butt naked on some of these shots. That was exactly his wording. He's never had looks like that before in his career. He's never played with someone who has the gravity of a Luka Doncic or a LeBron James, and now he's playing with both of them. He's definitely going to continue to get those good looks, and he's been good on defense as well. Great 3-and-D for the Lakers. I think wherever him, LeBron, and Doncic take them is where they'll go. I think they could be legit contenders.
I really do agree. I mean, right now they sit 4th place in the Western Conference, kind of like right there with the Rockets, so they might land that 4-5, but at the end of the day, if they are 4-5, doesn't matter. It's probably going to be Lakers-Rockets, but now it brings up a very interesting playoff scenario. When you look at the 6 through 10 seeds now, the 7 through 10, if you don't know, those seeds will play in the play-in game tournament that has been introduced as of late, and that 6 seed is crucial. If you get that 6 seed, you don't have to play in that tournament, and instead you're right there in it. So I know you wanted to talk about it. Why don't you take us through what that 6 through 10 looks like right now?
Yeah, so 6 through 10, all separated by only 2 games. A bunch of teams in the mix. The Clippers, the Timberwolves, the Mavericks, the Warriors. A lot of teams that are in contention right now. The Warriors, I want to emphasize a little bit. Since acquiring Jimmy Butler, are 5-1. Jimmy Butler has ramped up the production. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2 stocks since being traded to the Warriors. And when he was on Miami, you see 17 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.5 stocks. So almost like a little bit of the will to play at a higher level has returned for Jimmy Butler since being traded to the Warriors.
And I got to say, with being traded to the Warriors, I mean, he now becomes maybe the second best player behind Stephen Curry on that team, where he's not getting guarded by a team's best defender, and instead that Jimmy Butler is kind of working on a lesser defender. And I think that's kind of attributing to its success, but I think that makes the Warriors that much better.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, since Jimmy Butler has been traded to the Warriors, Stephen Curry is averaging 28.8 points per game. That is incredible. I mean, that puts him top 5 in the league in scoring. I read something today, reported by Shams, about Jimmy Butler. And he says he's staying late for shoot-arounds, he's staying late for practices, he's spending so much time in the training room and in the meal room. He's going above and beyond to integrate himself with this Warriors team right now.
Yeah, but how long is that going to last? I mean, we've seen Jimmy Butler so many times fall in love with the team in the first few weeks, and fast forward 2 years later, he's requesting a trade.
There's also something right here that says, but I'm telling you, it's different this time. Shams Charania. And
That's like the Cowboys saying it's our year. It's the same exact thing. I just don't know. You gotta show it to me before I can believe it.
I mean, you put a great player like Stephen Curry, who's arguably the greatest point guard of all time, and you give him a guy like Jimmy Butler, who's one of the best two-way players this game has ever seen, and you still have Draymond Green. You have Jonathan Kuminga coming back soon. You have Trey Jackson-Davis. You have Brandon Podziemski. That roster is pretty good.
Yeah, definitely loaded. They have a lot of 3-and-D guys that can go along with Jimmy Butler, with Stephen Curry. I'm interested to hear from you guys, though. As we said, 6 through 10, separated by only 2 games. There's a lot of teams in the mix. Austin, Lambo, who are those teams that are going to maybe get out of the play-in and clinch that 6, avoid playing some extra games before the playoffs?
I'll go first. Give me the Warriors. We were just talking about them. I mean, with that Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, I think that duo can really bring this team far. I think they have a very high ceiling. I think they can sneak into that 6 spot, and even if they don't, even if they're in the play-in game, I think they still have a very good chance to make a run in the playoffs. I mean, Steph Curry's been in the playoffs before. Jimmy Butler brought the Heat to the NBA Finals, don't forget. Yeah. They both have experience. They know how to win big games. I love the Warriors here.
For me, the Warriors are great. You can never count out Stephen Curry, but I have the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, you get a team that has a big man rotation when healthy of Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, and Daniel Gafford with PJ Washington. That is the best big man rotation in basketball. And then a guard like Kyrie Irving with a shooter like Klay Thompson. I mean, Kyrie Irving has never played with a big man like Anthony Davis ever in his career. The first game they played together, they were dominating together before Anthony Davis got hurt. I mean, that is box office. Kyrie Irving with Anthony Davis, that is much-watched television.
But at the same time, do you really think Dallas has a higher ceiling with or without Luka Doncic?
I think they have a higher ceiling because of their defensive scheme now.
I'm not sure. When you consider a team like the Lakers that we were just talking about, and you see them all of a sudden performing at such a higher level defensively just because of speed and athleticism, granted, Anthony Davis is a plus shot blocker, no matter where you put him.
One of the best.
But speed and athleticism also has some space, in the defensive realm. And, if you watch Jokic play against Anthony Davis, he has absolutely torched him every single matchup. They've torched each other, to be honest. But, kind of interested to see what Anthony Davis's defense and rim protection actually does bring to these Mavericks. I think we've yet to see it. And for me, that's why they're still a little bit unproven. I've got the Warriors making it out into that 6th seed, avoiding the play-in.
I think it also something to note. Is Anthony Davis really going to take his conditioning seriously? This all happened to Luka. Could Anthony Davis pull that too?
I think that is a very different situation. Anthony Davis is a solidified, bona fide, all-time great power forward. He really is.
Yeah, and he knows what it takes.
He does. He's won a championship with the Lakers. Next to LeBron James, I think he's going to elevate this Dallas team and push them over to the edge and hopefully bring them their first championship since Dirk Nowitzki.
All right, Austin. You're wearing the hoodie. We got to talk about them. The Phoenix Suns, they're a few games out of a play-in game. What's going on there? They're 2-8 in their last 10.
There's no camaraderie on this Phoenix Suns team, and it's clear as day when you're watching the games. The big three of Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, they're great on paper. I mean, those are guys that have all been able to average 30 points a game. I know, Bradley Beal a few years ago averaged 32 points per game. Kevin Durant has been close to 30 or averaged 30 in his career, and D-Book has also been close. They just don't gel. You cannot put 3 score-first-minded players on the same team and expect them to go win a championship playing iso ball with just the 3 of them. And it's clear as day. They're 11th in the West. They're 2 games back, sitting in at 27-30. But there is one good thing about this. They inserted Bradley Beal back into the starting lineup, and he's been incredible. Now we've gone 1-1 in those 2 games. But in Bradley Beal's last 5 games...
It's been incredible, 1-1.
No, in Bradley Beal's last 5 games, 30 points, 25 points, 19 points, 25 and 25, while also bringing the assist numbers up, and he's been getting rebounds. I mean, he's contributing. The problem last game was Kevin Durant had 15 points. That doesn't work.
I mean, while it's encouraging to see some production from Beal finally, you're still not really seeing wins in the win column yet. I mean, you definitely have time to stack up some wins. You're a team that definitely has the star power. You absolutely can go on a run. But at what point can you just figure this out? What I'm trying to talk about is, when will you guys be contenders? You have 3 all-stars, arguably first ballot Hall of Famers on your roster, and you're not in the play-in, not the playoffs. You're not in the play-in. So at what point are you regretting maybe not moving Beal at the trade deadline? Something else? I mean,
it's a problem because Beal has that no trade clause, and only 2 players in the NBA have it: Bradley Beal, LeBron James. Does Bradley Beal belong on that list of players with a no trade clause? Never should he have ever gotten a no trade clause. Everyone thought he was going to be a Wizard for life, so it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. That didn't work out that way. Only 2 teams at the deadline were interested in him, which was the Wizards and then the Atlanta Hawks, and he said no to both. I think they can make a push to make the play-in, but I would not be surprised if they fall out of it, and that just goes downhill for Phoenix because they don't own their pick next year, and that could very well end up being top 5, and they don't own it.
I think, speaking of picks, when you look at the San Antonio Spurs, I mean, they're without Wemby for the rest of the season, And I saw you reposted something on Twitter the other day. Phoenix Suns right now at 3% chance, but they also have the 7th hardest schedule moving forward without Wemby. And that's something. There is definitely a world where they get the first overall pick and they get Cooper Flagg. Or they can even get Dylan Harper. Like, you name it. So
if you get the number 1 overall pick, you draft Cooper Flagg. If you don't do that, you failed your franchise. I mean, you will get laughed at and scolded like Nico Harrison.
But I'm saying they can get a high pick and get...
Oh, they definitely can, and that's scary.
Dylan
I mean,
Harper
you put a team of De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama, Cooper Flagg, and then you also have Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. You guys like Malik Brahim coming off the bench. Like, that team is really good, and they're super young.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about a team that maybe was a little bit too young, maybe couldn't be contending for a championship yet, I think you kind of have to look at this with the whole Victor Wembanyama out for the season, blood clot situation. You have to look at this as glass half full, right? You actually do have a chance to get a lottery pick this season and build on the talent that you already have. You just drafted Stephon Castle, who was in the dunk contest, and I mean, he was awesome. He was
cool in the dunk contest.
And Stephon Castle, proven winner, won 2 national championships with UConn, so you got to feel good about him.
Yeah, absolutely. If they can build on even more young talent, I feel like this is a team that doesn't even need to pick up the phone for trade talks for years to come. They can just set their lineup, go about their business for the next 5 years, to be honest.
I think we're seeing another Oklahoma City Thunder type of scheme going on with that San Antonio Spurs team.
All right, before we cut to break, let's talk about it. Talking about teams that are kind of a dumpster fire right now. 76ers, man. Joel Embiid out for the season with a potential knee injury. Absolute dumpster fire. Paul George getting paid way too much. You lose your star rookie, Jared McCain, due to injury. What's going on with the Sixers?
The first problem is your best player of the season is Tyrese Maxey. Now, he's a great player, but he's not a number 1 option. I mean, Joel Embiid is a former MVP. He needs to be there. He needs to be available. The best ability is availability. Same with Paul George.
He just hates playing the game.
I know. They don't even like playing basketball. It makes no sense.
He hates playing.
Well,
when's the last time he played an entire season? Ever?
Has he ever? I don't think he actually has.
I don't even
check this.
Well, I don't even know if you can expect that this day and age. But I also wanted to talk about, Paul George. He's had a record bad year. If you're talking about Paul George, he will also probably be a first ballot Hall of Famer. However, he's been playing through a lot of pain. He's seemed like he's been very hurt so far this year.
Especially after the year he had last year. It's very, very disappointing because Paul George was just, so good for the Clippers last year.
23 points per game last year,
exactly.
if I'm not wrong, for the Clippers. And then the offseason, he leaves them. He gets a bag from Philadelphia. This year, he's making $49.2 million.
And he's averaging 16 a game.
He's averaging 16 a game. And then next year, he's making $49.2 million. It's unreal. The contract is way too much for an aging Paul George. We see it. The aging superstars don't work unless your name's LeBron James, Stephen Curry, or Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and we also have to talk about the fact that Joel Embiid got extended for 3 more years at the beginning of this season. So you're going to have a most likely coming off of knee surgery Joel Embiid. You're going to have a hurt Paul George. And both of them, crunched the numbers a little bit last night, estimated, depending on how Joel Embiid's contract falls exactly, to be making over $400 million between now and through the 2027-2028 season. That's a lot of your cap room, if not most of it. They're going to be a team that's drowning in the water in terms of acquiring talent for the next couple of seasons. They're just going to have to ride this out.
Definitely. We are going to hop off, take a quick break here on Afterthoughts, but stay with us. Back here on Afterthoughts, Ryan Lombardi alongside Jack Haskell, Nathan Donnelly. This time, we're going to dive some college basketball, and who else better but the Bonnie's basketball insider himself, Jack Haskell. Take it away.
Absolutely. The Bonnies, after a less than stellar start to the new year, they're starting to storm, Ryan. I mean, they're back in the single bye category with a win over Duquesne last Saturday on Senior Day, highlighted by who else but Leger Jones. I feel like every time he plays in the Riley Center, he just lights the place on fire. 24 points, really great team win, a lot of momentum heading into their game against St. Joe's on Wednesday. The Bonnies really need to win out because if they don't, then single bye could be in jeopardy.
They very well could be. They have like a 3% chance right now to get that single bye. But honestly, if they win out, need a lot more to happen. But that A10, like when you look at 4th place to like 10th place in the Atlantic 10, it's all separated by 1-2 games. So if they win out, very well chance they can get a double bye. They would not have to play till Friday, which is definitely a huge advantage for them. But if not, at least locking up that single bye. They cannot lose out, because if they lose out, very well, they're going to have to play Wednesday. If you want any shot to win, playing Wednesday to Sunday is not an easy task. So as long as they can lock up a single bye, they play Thursday to Sunday, I think they'll be okay with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what really struck me about that Duquesne game was, you said LeJay Jones had 24 points, was absolutely lighting up the Riley Center. Post-game, Noel Brown got the belt, baby. Noel Brown got the championship belt. And I think that's what needs to follow when they play St. Joseph's tomorrow, is they got to find a way to get inside out. The reason LeJay Jones had 24, Noel Brown was clogging up the middle. If they can get him touches inside the paint and then work out, I don't see why LeJay Jones could have more than 24 points.
Absolutely. And I think that's a trend we've seen all year. Noel Brown's played very, very well this year. And for a guy that barely saw minutes off the bench last year, it was very rare that we got a 20-plus minute game from Noel Brown. Outside, Atlantic 10 tournament, he played awesome for us. But when you really look at it, Noel Brown has made such a jump. Obviously, very tough game for him on Saturday, dealing with everything. It was senior day.
There's a lot of emotions.
A lot of emotions behind Noel Brown. I
yeah.
think that's a big reason as to why he got the belt. But you get a healthy Noel Brown when he's locked into the game. He's very hard to stop.
It's been so special to see the resurgence of Noel Brown this season. I mean, you mentioned it, the A10 tournament, we don't get as far as we did without Noel Brown and the production that he brought. And just to finish out this season, I think Noel Brown's going to be a huge piece for this Bonnie squad, and especially playing 37 minutes like he did against Duquesne. That's really crucial. I mean, you only see 3 minutes from Xander Wedlow, but when they're able to platoon like that, it's good.
Wedlow shines in some points too. He's been able to get really good screen set and rolls from LeJay and Melvin Council too.
Definitely. Another player to highlight, Melvin Council Jr., 20 points last time out. You look at his stats all year. He has just been so consistent for the Bonnies. He's a leader. I walked into practice earlier today, and I mean, he screamed out there, like, if you want to be a dog, got to be a dog. And he is just the heart and soul of this team, honestly. He just lights a fire under everybody and gets them going.
I give all credit in the world to Melvin Council being called upon as the starting point guard for this team after DeSante Bowen went down. He's had to play a role in a position that isn't his primary role or position. So the fact that he stepped up to the plate on any given occasion when he's called upon, that just proves why he's one of our captains this year.
100%, and you could see kind of a dip in production from guys like Chance Moore once Melvin Council took control of that point guard spot and got the ball, because they're kind of the same player. So when Melvin Council is ball dominant like that and trying to create with Noel and Xander in like a two-man game, it's going to kind of take the ball away from Chance, unfortunately.
Yeah, looking ahead at St. Bonaventure, obviously got to win out. They have 3 games left. Not going to be an easy task, but moving into the Atlantic 10 tournament, what do they have to do there in Washington, D.C. to kind of get it done?
Absolutely. They've got to be healthy. They've got to stay healthy. Unfortunately, it's not looking like DeSante Bowen will be back this season. So the guys that can play, they've got to be on their A game, whether it's the traditional 5 starters or somebody like Noah Belonga or Xander Wedlow, Dwayne Thompson, even Miles Rose off the bench, bringing production when called upon and playing the Bonaventure basketball way.
Yeah, it's been no secret Schmidt plays his starters upwards of 35, 40 minutes a game. There's a situation where we're going to have to play 5 games in 5 days. These guys, by the end, if we make the end, are going to be gassed. When we call upon Miles Rose, Dwayne Thompson, they're going to have to come off the bench and provide, and that'll be the key to probably finishing off a tournament run.
Yeah, I mean, a win on Sunday puts them into the bracket, which would be pretty cool. We had high hopes for St. Bonaventure to be in the tournament at the beginning of the year, and if they can get a win on Sunday. Speaking of the tournament, let's talk about the SEC, because they are dominating the college basketball world. And, just look at some of these schools. Number 6, Alabama, they're averaging almost 91 points per game. You look at their production last year. A lot of those players back this year. They made a deep run in last year's tournament. What's it going to take for them to keep up success?
Yeah, you mentioned that a lot of the players from last year returned this year. You look at notably Mark Sears. He's taken a little bit of a dip in his production, but I think with the conference schedule rolling around, he started to get back into his comfortability, and I think he's going to be huge for this Alabama team. And Bama's always been great in March, and whether it's going to be all about the Tide this year, time will tell, but I think Alabama's poised for a deep run in March.
Alabama are my boys. Nate Oates, Buffalo guy, he has these boys playing fast. Mark Sears has taken a dip, but because he's gotten so much attention, he's totally capable of pulling this off in March, along with the help of Chris Youngblood, also my dog, and North Dakota State transfer Grant Nelson. Nasty.
I don't want to take too much attention away from Alabama, but when you look at a team like UConn, they went back-to-back. That second national championship team was pretty much everybody from the first one. So you get those guys back, you have them playing another year. What Alabama went far last year. I think they either Elite Eight and they lost, but I mean they're 11-3 right now in the conference, in the toughest conference in college basketball this year. So I have high hopes for them to make a run in that SEC tournament, and I'm very happy to see what they're going to do in March.
Absolutely. I mean, the SEC I've seen 13 projected bids in the March Madness tournament this year, which I don't even think that should be allowed, personally.
Last month, the projected top four, like all one seeds, were all SEC teams. It was Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, and Texas A&M. That's never happened. It won't happen this year, unfortunately. Texas A&M has taken a dip, but like Florida's still number 3.
Auburn will be in that mix.
And
it's gonna be Duke's. Duke's gonna get one of those one seeds,
yes,
but
yes.
It is looking very good for the SEC. Now, this is the same thing we were saying about the Big East last year, though. You had St. John's gonna get an at-large bid. Seton Hall was gonna get an at-large bid. Even I think it seemed like Xavier had a chance for one. Come Selection Sunday, there were so many bid steals that Seton Hall, Xavier, St. John's all missed out on the tournament because of bid steals. So are we going to see that again this year? Could we see some of these mid-majors come out and steal a bid like Duquesne did last year in the A-10?
Yeah, you mentioned the mid-majors. VCU and George Mason, both from our Atlantic 10, they're both tournament teams. Whether they will be officially announced as teams that will go to March Madness, I think just the record, the resume that they have, George Mason, VCU, only one of them's going to win the Atlantic 10 tournament and get the official bid, but I think one of them's got to sneak in.
Yeah. I don't want to get too far in advance, but if we had to pick one team right now, make it either to the Final Four, who's kind of a sleeper, who would that be?
Oh, that's a good one. I honestly...
I don't want to get too far in advance because we'll have a selection show. What do you think?
I was very excited for that as well. I don't know what qualifies as a sleeper, but Texas Tech lost a tough game last night. I think they could still go all the way. They have awesome guys. Obi Toppin's younger brother, JT Toppin, is nasty. He's high flying. He can shoot the ball. He's averaging almost 20 points a game. I think he could lead Texas Tech to the Final Four.
You mentioned that maybe they're not necessarily a sleeper on paper. I think St. John sneaks into the Final Four.
That's still qualified.
The Johnnies have been storming,
Yeah.
led by Rick Pitino, second-year Rick Pitino nonetheless. St.
Legendary
John's
coach Rick Pitino. This
St.
guy,
John's is going to
coach.
be sleepy.
he is the godfather. I mean, this guy has brought this team to the promised land. They just beat UConn by 20 points. Are you kidding me?
In the Garden, that is electric.
It's awesome. I mean, this St. John's team is legit. Kadari Richmond, maybe the best point guard in college basketball right now. He moves the ball so well. Maybe doesn't do it all on the scoring side, but when you look at those assist numbers and turnover ratio, he is very, very solid.
What could have been if Syracuse would have taken the chance on the Godfather?
He had to bring that up.
And Kadari Richmond, too.
Kadari Richmond
That's
even,
what I
too.
thought you were going to say.
You think they
Kadari
talk
Richmond.
about that in the locker room?
It hurts so...
I don't know.
it really pains me as a Seton Hall fan to see Kadari Richmond having this kind of success because he won us the NIT championship last year. So to see him kind of having that success with them, but it's good to see. I really don't like St. John's, but they're just such a fun, exciting team. They have the best defense in college basketball.
They have the best defense in college basketball.
They don't shoot the ball
They
the best,
don't shoot,
but they cannot defend.
They shoot a little bit over 30% from three, but teams have shot. I saw teams have shot worse and made it far in March. St. John's is streaky. If they hit a hot streak in March, there's no. I mean, they with a defense like that, they can win the national championship.
Defense wins championships.
Yes.
That's the saying.
If they shoot the ball streakily, they could win the national championship.
Now, those are some contenders. Let's talk about some teams that have really just not performed to expectation. Half of the top 10 from the AP preseason poll not ranked right now. Kansas came into the year ranked number 1. They are unranked. UConn ranked number 3. They are unranked. Gonzaga, number 6, not ranked. Baylor at 8, and then UNC at 9. All those teams unranked. Just complete disappointing seasons from all of them.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas especially, this AP poll from this week, the first time that they have been unranked in the AP 25 poll since February of 2021.
Yeah, and especially with Kansas, you get a big-time transfer from Michigan like Hunter Dickinson. You're thinking, oh, for the next 2-3 years, however long he's here, we have a chance to win the national championship every single year. They just haven't built around him that well. They really haven't.
And would not count Kansas out. I think there's still a world where they get in.
Oh, without a doubt.
And there's definitely a world where they make a run. They have the experience.
Bill Self is a great coach.
He's a great coach.
He's a great coach. He'd be able to do it.
And Hunter Dickinson, I mean, make as many LinkedIn jokes as you want. He's still one of the best centers in all of college basketball currently.
Yeah. He can be an animal when he puts his mind to it and stops kicking people.
Another disappointing team, UConn Huskies.
Wow.
Back-to-back national championships, and they're not even ranked anymore. They just lost by 20 to St. John's. I mean, we saw this when they went to Hawaii, went 0-3, even losing to Dayton.
Yeah, I mean, Atlantic 10 biasy, but when you lose to a mid-major like that, it kind of spells the rest of your season out for you.
To be fair, though, the Atlantic 10 completely dominated the Big East this year.
Oh, absolutely.
I think
Providence
three
went
teams beat
0-3
Providence.
against the Atlantic 10.
Yeah.
They lost to St. Bonaventure, they lost to St. Joseph's, and I believe, I can't remember the third team off the top of my head, but 0-3 against Atlantic 10 teams this year.
Yeah, but UConn, they have some good wins this year.
They have some good wins.
They won on the road at Marquette. They won on the road at Creighton. That's two
those are two tournament teams.
I mean, that's their good wins, but when you look deeper into it, they don't really have those wins. Now, if they sneak in, I think there's a world where they make a run. This team, it's Dan Hurley, maybe the best coach in college basketball. He knows how to win, but
they still have scorers. Liam McNeely is a great scorer.
And
Alex Karaban can. Yeah, he's
a stud
awesome.
freshman.
Yes, Alex Karaban has been there, can score the ball. The one thing I saw, if you look at the Ken Pomeroy ratings, UConn's Ken Pomeroy rating for defense in the last 2 years, national championship years, number 7, number 4. This year, number 99.
Absolutely.
They've taken a dip. I mean, there's
It's
no
taken a
surprise
dip,
there. When
yes.
you lose a guy like Donovan Kling Kong, who pretty much brought you to 2 national championships, it's so hard to come back from that.
You need somebody as an anchor in the middle. Klingon averaged almost 3 blocks a game when he was playing at UConn, along with he could drop 20 points and 10 rebounds also on the same night. Like, they just don't really have that guy this year that can anchor the middle defensively. That's all.
Absolutely. And as much as UConn has had a collapse in the regular season, UConn is not a team you want to play in March by any means.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, with the success they've had with Coach Hurley. And let's talk about Dan Hurley, because when he is winning, everyone's like, yeah, he is the best. And then now that he's losing, he's getting a little bit of a negative persona around him. And I want to know, I'm curious to know what you guys feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, though he's had his struggles and though he's got quite the ego and it's been seen prominently this season, he's still one of the best coaches in all of college basketball. And personally, I think he did make the right decision by turning down the Lakers job in the offseason and staying with UConn to pursue that third national championship. I think Dan Hurley's going to have a good time in March.
Yeah, the Lakers job just wouldn't work. It's really that simple. Like, NBA guys will not listen to him.
I don't think LeBron's
No.
listening to Dan Hurley.
Yeah, and Bronny either. Bronny would listen to LeBron more than Dan Hurley. That job to me just wouldn't work. But Dan Hurley's still an awesome coach. To me, it kind of got iffy when he was talking like he was like, we should be able to get those calls. We're back-to-back national champions. Like, that to me is
I don't know if
about
that's
that.
something you should say.
I don't know if that's something like that. To me, exudes I'm him. I'm bigger than life. Like, I don't know if we should go there.
And I think something like along those lines too is like, how does the rest of the team feel about that when it becomes like, I'm the best coach in college basketball?
Are we like, coach, like, can it? We just lost to Dayton by 20?
Yeah,
Like,
or
if my coach is chirping the Creighton student section after a loss, that's like
No, that was after a win.
It was after a win.
After a win.
Regardless.
You got to pull him aside and be like, Coach, are you one of us? Are you as old as us? Are you a college student
He was
again?
pointing to his 2 rings.
Yeah.
But
It's just to me that stuff, that part of it is unacceptable. You're one of the best coaches in the nation. Like, you can do that, but to me, that's just unacceptable.
There's a time and a place.
Yes.
all right, so we've given some of our contenders. Now let's take a look. AP Top 25. Some teams still in that mix. Who are some of the pretenders out there that we think are not as good as they seem?
Yeah, I've seen Missouri in there quite a lot. I mean, they have Mark Mitchell, the Duke transfer. I don't know if Missouri's going to be that prominent of a team come March.
Okay.
I would have to go with, this is a tough question. I'd have to go with Iowa State. Iowa State has had injury problems all year. They have the talent defensively to lock down almost any team in the nation. Duke is iffy. Duke scores like 90 points. Duke is insane. But Iowa State has the talent to lock down almost any team. They just can't score that well. And in order to win games, you need to score the basketball.
I think I'm going to regret saying this because I said they weren't going to go anywhere in last year's tournament. They ended up going to the Sweet 16. Clemson Tigers,
That's a good pick.
They're 22-5 this year.
Yeah.
But when you look at some of their games, like, obviously, yes, they beat Duke. But they beat Duke at home. That was a high-pressure game.
High-pressure game.
I mean, everyone was looking for an upset.
High-pressure, close game.
Yeah. And it was a close one. It was close. But then you look at some of their other wins, like SMU, Florida State, North Carolina.
The
all
ACC
teams that
is
are just
not that strong.
The ACC is not that strong outside of Duke. And I don't see the Clemson Tigers really going that far. This is a team that lost to Georgia Tech. This is a team that lost to Louisville. They lost to South Carolina. They lost to a lot of teams that I don't think are all that.
Did we just say that the ACC isn't strong outside of Duke when you just mentioned Louisville? And if you look at what Louisville's doing this season, a complete 180. I think
From last
Complete
year.
180.
I think Louisville is going to be a really sneaky team in March.
Okay. I mean, that's fair, but my whole thing was the Clemson Tigers. I wasn't dissing on Louisville. I'm just saying they lost to Louisville by 10.
Clemson, excuse me. I think Louisville could be a sleeper pick in the ACC tournament. I think they could pull a fast one over Duke.
That's
I really do.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I was not saying that Louisville was a bad team. I was saying they lost to Louisville by 10. I'm talking about the Clemson Tigers.
I don't know. I want to give Louisville props where props is due. I think they're going to be a team you don't want to face in March.
I mean, I agree. I think they did a complete 180, like you said. Now, come ACC tournament, we saw last year what happened. NC State, they take down Syracuse. Everyone thought Syracuse was going to win that game, and they ended up winning it. All right, more to come up next here on Afterthoughts. We're going to toss it to Ryan Adio. He's going to bring us through the MLB and some NFL
Draft combine stuff.
Draft combine.
Yes.
It blanked my mind. Stay with us right here on Afterthoughts.
Welcome back to Afterthoughts. I'm Ryan Adio. This is Gavin Watson. That's Noah Randall. And we're going to jump into some way too early MLB playoff brackets. Gavin, you want to take it away here? Give me your seeding for the AL and the NL.
All right. At 1, it's got to be my New York Yankees. 2, Cleveland Guardians. Rangers, Red Sox, Tigers. Tigers, good team, young team, but I don't feel like they did anything in the offseason to really make me want to bring them up higher.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I'll jump into mine next. I'm going with the Yankees at 1-2. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but that's how it's going to have to be. Then I got the Tigers at 2. I know it's a little high for your standards, but I think the Tigers made enough offseason adjustments to really make their push into the high playoff bracket. Then I have the Rangers at 3. I mean, I think that West division is just not that good. They're easily going to take that one. Guardians at 4. Red Sox at 5. We talked about this before. A lot of really good moves made by Boston in the offseason. They're going to be a sneaky good team this year. And the Orioles at 6. Although they didn't make any amazing moves, I think they're still going to be one of the top teams in the AL. How about you, Noah?
So let me preface this by saying I am hashtag not a baseball guy. I love baseball, but I've never actually sat down to watch, and that I'm hoping to change this year. So for my rankings, I kind of went off vibes a little bit.
And I hope you're right.
Hey, that's
really
a great
do.
move.
I hope you're right.
like
I hope you're right.
I went off vibes and just general how good they did last year. So number 1, obviously I have the Yankees.
Yeah.
I feel like the no beard rule kind of getting taken away.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Switch up the mojo.
It's gonna let them,
Get some playoff beards in there.
Yeah, it's gonna get some mojo in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Just kind of liven things up a little bit. Then we got the Cleveland Guardians at number 2. We got my sister's favorite team, the Red Sox, at 3. At 4, we have the Houston Astros. At 5, we have my mom's team, the Baltimore Orioles. And number 6, I threw them in there because I just kind of, I felt like it. I like what they got going on. I had the Seattle Mariners.
Wow, that is a
Mariners.
dark horse in the rankings here.
That's all right. I mean, hey.
I don't know
go
what
for
they
it,
did
man.
to make you confident in them. Not a great year last year,
Yeah.
missed the playoffs, and then just did not really do anything of note.
Hey,
that is
in
definitely the
free
biggest dark
agency.
horse that I've seen.
I like their logo. They were owned by
Okay.
Nintendo for a while.
yeah,
that is
I'm
true.
a big Nintendo guy.
true.
Ichiro just got in the Hall of Fame.
Ichiro?
Maybe
Yeah.
the
Ichiro's my
mojo
favorite
changes.
player.
I don't know.
Maybe he comes back
So
and they're
I
great.
think Ichiro finally getting into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. I think that's gonna lift some dark clouds over the Mariners, and they're gonna get the 6th seed.
If you say so. How about we jump into NL? Gavin, give me your NL.
I feel like it's really hard to go anybody but the Dodgers at 1. The Dodgers, they just got better this offseason.
Yeah.
After winning it, they went and signed big top-name guys. Up next, Mets. They had the best offseason of any team not named the Dodgers, signing Juan Soto, biggest free agent of the class. So far, then I want the Cubs, Phillies, and Padres.
Okay.
My sneaky wild horse team here is the Cincinnati Reds. They did a lot in free agency. They have a young team with a young core. I think the Reds could be an interesting team.
I mean, I don't like the whole Reds Mariners thing, but I'm gonna run into NL here. Obviously, the Dodgers are the best team in baseball right now. I think that's just. I mean, obviously they won the World Series, so that's not a crazy take, but they are just the best team in baseball right now. And I'm going with my New York Mets at number 2. I don't think they're better than the Dodgers, but I do think they made enough additions to really push the agenda this year. At number 3, I'm going with your Brewers here. I think it is a weak division.
Central is the worst division in baseball.
Central's a little weak.
Either league, AL, NL, the Central's the worst.
I think AL West is worse than NL Central.
AL West is going to be competitive at least.
I
It's going to be
agree with that.
competitively bad.
I agree with that.
But
And then I got the Phillies, unfortunately, honestly. And then the Padres
True
and
Mets
the
fan
Braves.
right there.
I think the Phillies are good. I don't think they're that good, but I think
they
they're
did
good.
enough. I don't think they did enough to
not
close
at
in the
all.
gaps.
And then Padres, I think they're always going to be very strong. And then Braves, I don't think they did that much, and I think they actually had a really bad offseason, but they have a lot of young talent, and I think it's enough to make them at least be the 6th seed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump into these wild card matchups here. You want to go AL first again?
Yeah, let's start AL.
Yeah.
I like Boston versus Baltimore.
So Boston is your what seed?
Boston is the 4 seed in
Okay.
my bracket.
All right.
Then I'm gonna go Red Sox over the Orioles in that wild card matchup.
Fair enough, yeah.
I think the Red Sox did a great job this offseason, supplementing the talent that they needed, especially with a young roster. Then going on to the next wild card matchups, I like Rangers versus Tigers. I don't think the Tigers are good enough to beat the Rangers, especially if the Rangers can stay healthy this year.
Yeah.
Bringing back DeGrom, re-signing Evaldi. I think this is a really good pitching team, and then you can have those guys like Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter, who are guys that really did not come out of college the way that people thought they would.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can have a good year this year and help those teams in the playoffs.
The Rangers pitching is very, very good. Especially, you didn't even mention DeGrom.
I didn't even mention DeGrom.
Comes back
I forgot
and
about
DeGrom is healthy. I mean, he's one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
So my first round one of the wild card here. Orioles, Rangers. Again, I just don't think the Orioles did enough. They're going to be a good team, but not a great team. The Rangers are really solid this year. I think the Rangers are going to take that wild card matchup. And then Guardians, Red Sox. The Red Sox just did more. The Guardians kind of sat back on this one. I mean, they're a good team. It's the same thing with the Orioles. They're both good teams, but they didn't do enough to really solidify that, World Series contender. I'm taking the Red Sox, so I've got Rangers and Red Sox moving on.
Yeah, for mine, I've got Mariners, Red Sox.
Wow.
My wild card. And I think the Mariners are going to... No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Wow,
I'm a baseball guy.
They're going all the way to the World
I'm
Series.
not a baseball guy. I'm not an idiot. I got the Red Sox moving on. And then the Astros and Orioles... And I'm just gonna, I'm gonna make my mom proud. I'm gonna say the Orioles take down the
I don't think
Astros.
that's a bad idea. I do think the Astros took a big step back.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. I don't hate the Orioles over the Astros.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
I honestly
There you go.
don't. I don't even think the Red Sox, or not the Red Sox. I don't even think the Astros are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So let's be honest. I actually would say that they would beat them. Let's go into NL wild card here. You want to start again?
Yeah, I'll start
I feel
it
bad
again.
making you start every. We can start.
We'll go the 3 and the 6. I'm going to go Cubs versus the Cincinnati Reds. I think the Cubs got that matchup. They did lose some guys, but they brought in a lot of star power with Kyle Tucker and Ryan Presley.
Taking out your underdog straight away is kind of.
Well, okay, I said they'd make it. I didn't say they'd make it to the World Series.
Fair enough, yeah.
I said they'd make it. I'm saying they're going to make it by a half game. After that, I like Padres versus the Phillies. The Padres are just so good in the playoffs. They've proved year over year how good they are in the playoffs. I think the Padres will take it and go on to face those Dodgers.
Yeah, and that's a tough feat for any team. I have Brewers, Braves. I'm going to give this one to the Brewers. Again, I just don't think the Braves did enough. And then Phillies, Padres. I'm going to take the Padres here. I honestly, again, I just don't think the Phillies did that much. They're a good team, and maybe it's my Mets bias coming in here, but I don't think they're going to move on.
So I got Padres, Brewers, and of course I'm gonna take my Brewers. If you thought anything else, I don't know what to tell you. And then I will take my 4th and 5th seeds, the Braves and Pirates.
Ooh.
And I think that
What a matchup.
yeah,
What
as
a
much
matchup.
as obviously I know he doesn't play for them anymore, long since retired, but I'm a big Chipper Jones fan. So I do love me some Atlanta Braves, but I love Paul Skeens more. Paul
Skeens has a better mustache.
I also love Andrew McCutchen, the clutch clutch guy that he is. I like the Padres better, or not the Padres, excuse me. I like the Pirates better.
Okay.
I have the Pirates moving on.
That would be a shocker to the baseball world.
That would be crazy.
Let's run through our ALDS and NLDS matchups here just to kind of run through them.
Yankees, Red Sox. I like the Yankees.
Rivalry.
I do think the Red Sox did a lot, but I think the Yankees still have the better team.
Yeah.
I think they'll prove that come the DS. Next matchup, Rangers, Guardians. I just think the Rangers pitching is too good for the Guardians hitting. I think the Rangers will beat them. Guardians, they didn't do enough. They lost a lot of the things that helped them get to that point in the playoffs last year, including Andres Jimenez, their Gold Glove second baseman. So I really think the Rangers will take this series and get to the CS.
And what about the NL?
The NL side, I had Mets, Cubs. Mets, they just did so much, and I think that you have to take the Mets, especially when they have guys, they're hurt, but they're going to be back. Dodgers, Padres, Dodgers are going to do it again and get there.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. My NL and ALDS here, Rangers, Orioles. Give me the Rangers. They've been really, really good, or at least they made a lot of really, really good moves. And they were good 2 years ago. I mean, they went to the World Series and won it. Yankees, Red Sox. Give me the Yankees as well. They're just such a good team. And how about Mets, Padres, and the NLDS going Mets, and then Dodgers, Brewers. I've got the Dodgers moving on.
So for me, I have obviously Yankees, Red Sox, like everybody else. I'm picking Yankees. But then I have Guardians, Orioles, and I'm actually going to change my opinion of what I had before, just kind of sitting here. I've got the Guardians beating the Orioles.
All right,
And
Noah.
the Guardians moving to the ACLs.
I'm not gonna lie, that's a take. I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
How about you give me your CS for both teams here?
For both teams, or for both conferences, I've got Brewers, Dodgers.
Brewers, Dodgers. Let me guess. The Brewers?
Yeah.
All right,
You know
I
what?
can-
I think the Brewers
All right.
will mark my words, the Brewers are going to make the World Series. And then Guardians, Yankees, I guess I will go the Yankees.
And who's your World Series winner? The Brewers?
Mark my words.
The Milwaukee Brewers.
Milwaukee Brewers
All right,
will
so-
be your 2025.
Anyway,
we're
don't
gonna ignore
listen.
him.
We're here with Nathan Donnelly
I'm
here.
back.
Real quick.
I'm back.
He's back.
I'm not Gavin.
Yeah,
It's-
just like that, he's back.
Yeah, it's Nathan.
Gavin just disappeared
Yeah.
quickly. Let me give you my World Series here. I have Dodgers, Rangers, and I'm going with the Dodgers.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just really easy.
I'm not Gavin, but he has the Yankees.
Yes. Is that
I
a
didn't even
surprise
look.
to
I
anyone?
really hope so, but
No,
yeah.
he probably said Dodgers, honestly.
I don't.
It doesn't matter. You
Yeah.
know what? We're going to jump into some NFL Combine preview. Gentlemen, the Combine's in 2 days.
2 days.
2 days
Yeah.
it starts.
Three-day
Wow.
event, correct?
Yeah, and
Okay.
it flew by. It's
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, 3-day event. We're gonna run through some players to watch here, and then we're gonna go best quarterback, maybe top 5, fastest 40, whatever we can get through. Let's start with some players to watch. No, Nathan, you're the newest guest. Why don't you start?
Yeah. So everybody knows Ashton Genty is RB1.
Yep.
He had a
7.1 combine grade. by the way.
7.1 combine
nuts.
grade, generational year, had historic numbers. Look at me in the eyes, you too. Omarion Hampton is a dog. He's insane. He can run inside the numbers, outside the numbers. He can move laterally, vertically. He has pass catching ability, pass blocking ability. He is absolutely insane. I don't think I can call him the steal of the draft, but I'm looking at him, not necessarily how he performs for himself, but to see how close he can get to Ashton Genty.
I would actually 100% agree with that. I think, again, he's not the steal of the draft, but he's a little underrated.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely where you're coming from. Mel Kiper today even had him going over Ginty to the Cowboys, who obviously need a running back, and everyone kind of assumes they're going to take Ginty, but no. Marion Hampton is going to go, I guess, to the Cowboys, at least in his book. Noah, why don't you give me your player to watch as well for the Combine?
So my player to watch, or players to watch, I guess. Well, the players that I picked might not necessarily be like, I'd love to come on here and give you like some random 6th round guy that eventually becomes, just nuts. But the 3 guys that I've picked that I'll kind of rapid fire through are all like kind of 1st round guys.
Fair enough.
But I think all 3 of them have pretty interesting situations they find themselves in. My number 1 guy is Teteroya McMillan, a wide receiver out of Arizona, 6'5", just massive wide receiver. But he kind of, it's kind of a little bit too early for Keon Coleman to get some draft comps, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of Keon Coleman in that he's a great jump ball, he's a great contested catch guy,
Yeah.
but there's a little bit of concern about his burst off the line. There's a little bit of concern about his separation ability. So I think if he can show some promise during the 40 and can run a pretty effective gauntlet drill, he might be he might kind of sneak his way up.
Yeah.
I also have James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher out of Tennessee. He entered the season as the number 1 overall pick for a lot of people, and his stock has just kind of plummeted a little bit. And that's kind of due to he didn't have an awful season by any means. He had a pretty great season, all things considered, but just not number 1 overall pick material. And he's also had some character issues as well that's kind of caused him to fall down the board. So I think if he can have a great combine, then if he can have a great combine, he might be able to put himself back in top 10 considerations. And then finally, I'll just glance over, because everybody's already done to death talked about him. Travis Hunter.
Okay.
he is obviously the obvious choice. He is a player to watch. Everybody's going to be watching, obviously.
Yeah.
But he is in an interesting scenario because is he going to run? Is he going to run wide receiver drills? Is he going to run corner drills? Is he going to run both? Will he be the most overworked player at the combine? And will he even underperform at the combine? He's definitely an interesting player to keep an eye out.
So, no, I've got a question for you. You mentioned Travis Hunter. Do you think Travis Hunter is the best wide receiver in the class?
No.
Do you think Travis Hunter is the best corner in the class?
No.
So why is he so high on so many people's draft boards?
I think it's the fact that he does both.
I get that.
I think
yeah.
that's.
But is he going to play both in the NFL?
No. God,
So,
no.
so I don't know.
He's
Not equally at least.
No.
It's a little fishy. I won't lie.
See, I would say my prediction is that Travis Hunter will enter the league as a corner, and then he'll get subbed into certain packages as a wide receiver throughout a game or throughout a season. But no, he is not the best wide receiver on the board.
I would say that's Troy McMillan.
I'd say that's either
yes.
to Troy McMillan. Isaiah Bond could be up there as well.
Okay.
And corner, obviously Will Johnson.
Yes.
You know,
That
he's
would be,
insane.
yes.
And I think secondary wise, there's so many better pure corners. But I think where Travis Hunter is so high on so many people's boards is that he has the ability to play both. He's kind of a plug and play type of player. So it'll be interesting to see what he ends up doing in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, athleticism-wise, he's probably one of the biggest prospects we've ever seen. But again, is he the best corner? No. Is he the best wide receiver? No. I don't know where you can place him. I'll go over my 2 or 3 players here. I have Mike Green, defensive end from Marshall. He actually led the NCAA in sacks this year, but he did play for Marshall.
Yeah.
That's the thing that he has to
there's-
prove he has to prove scouts wrong. Like when you play for Marshall, everyone says, "Well,
It's tough comp.
Yeah, I mean, right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just there's not much. You know, it's same thing with Ginty. You know, he's in the Mountain West.
Yeah. Who are you running against?
Right, exactly. So he's kind of looking to prove anybody wrong here and saying, it's not the conference that made me good, it's my own skill. He's a great run defender. He has a huge wingspan. He's insane tape. I think he's going to really prove some doubters wrong. And then I have Daquan Felton. He's a wide receiver from Virginia Tech. Again, Virginia Tech, so he's a little bit overlooked.
ACC, yeah.
Yeah, so he's 6'5", 223 pounds, and he runs 23 miles per hour. Apparently, that's what the scouts say. So if he goes off in the combine, like, how can you not draft
So he's
him?
Usain Bolt.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
He ran at 23 miles an hour on a treadmill. I don't know what you say.
So what you're
about
telling me is that he will be running a sub 4-second 40. Is
that.
what you're
Hopefully,
telling me.
yeah. Speaking of that, why don't we get into fastest 40? I mean, I feel like for me, it's a pretty consensus pick, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say.
I'm going to go, you mentioned Isaiah Bond. I'm going to go the route of Isaiah Bond. He has insane speed, and he's also somebody I'm looking at too, because I think he could be a little undervalued. His teammate, Matthew Golden, really picked up the receiving work towards the second half of Texas's season. So Isaiah Bond is coming in with not a ton of games under his belt in the recent, towards the end of the season. I think he could easily run the fastest 40. He has insane blazing speed.
I'm taking Arian Smith. He's a wide receiver from Georgia. He averaged about 19.9 yards, almost 20 yards a catch.
Yeah.
I mean, that just shows how fast you are. He was a statewide winner in the 200-meter dash. He ran a sub 10:20 100-meter dash time. He's fast. I mean, I don't need to keep going.
Yeah.
He's fast. I think if anyone's going to break it, it's going to be him.
Yeah, I would love to come in with some new guy, but when you look at all of the predictions for the combine, everybody has Arian Smith as their number one fastest.
I would
40.
love to see Isaiah Bond do it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think it would really help his draft stock.
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Last thing here. Top 5 draft quarterbacks. Quarterbacks, obviously the biggest position
Biggest one.
here. Give me your top 5. Noah, you want to start on this one?
Yeah, please start.
Please start. I want to hear it.
I will start. So I have Cam Ward at number 1.
All right.
Obviously. Jackson Dart at number 2.
Crazy.
Kyle McCord at number 3. Shadur Sanders at 4. And I have, just because I like him because he's a lefty, I have not Riley Leonard. Dylan Gabriel.
Yes.
At 5.
The Hawaiian out of Oregon.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Sure, man.
Nice guy.
If you say so.
Yeah.
I got Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, pretty self-explanatory. Jackson Dart, even pretty normal. Quinn Ewers, and then I'm going Kyle McCord as well. I mean, I watched his Pitt game, but still.
Yes, his pit game was rough. I was there live.
Yeah.
We left early. For me, my top 3, same as yours. I would go Cam Ward, Shadur, Jackson Dart. My 4 would be Kyle McCord. I'm a Syracuse fan. Would be Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord has a crazy quick release.
Yes,
like he
he
has an insane release. I thought he was short. I thought he looked short. He really isn't that short. I'd go McCord at 4, and then 5, the oldie, Tyler Show.
I like it.
Out
I
of
love it,
Louisville.
actually. I
Yeah.
love it. I do.
25 years old.
That will do it for Afterthoughts here on the Afterthought Sport YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode.